Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Eve and today I will be talking about my birthday book haul. So this is actually including all of the books that I bought in February, which was my birthday month. And yeah, you know what a book haul is. I treated myself, there are loads of books to go through, so let's dive into it. So the first book is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one I wanted to read already for a long time. It's a Gothic historical fiction and it's set in Mexico, as you can see already on the title. As far as I know, it's I think in the 50s, set in the 50s, and our main protagonist, she gets a letter from her cousin, which recently got married to an Englishman, and they are living together in the countryside in his mansion. And it looks like that his new wife feels like she's haunted by something or that he might want to kill her. And yeah, our main protagonist is going to visit her and check out what's going on there. Next up is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. And this one is a fantasy romance. We have a siren here and she has like a bracelet with loads of beads on it, and all of these beads show some kind of a bargain that she did with a man called the Bargainer. And we know that the Bargainer always comes to collect, but he took some time here to come and ask for his favor back for the favors that he gave her. And one day he's coming back and wants to marry her. And I don't know exactly what's going on from there. I think he's a fae. And it's about fae magic, and the magic is disappearing and the siren is somehow connected to it. So let's see. I'm interested. Loads of people have said this is very good and I'm excited. The next one is Frog Music by Emma Donoghue. This is historical fiction set in 1876 in San Francisco, and we follow Blanche, who was part of the Parisian circus, her boyfriend and his companion. They now live in San Francisco and are some kind of part of the underworld there. And it looks like they meet a stranger, and from there we get insight into a lot of secrets that our protagonists have. So I guess this is also a murder mystery. Next up we have Adrian Selby, Brother Red. This is an adult fantasy novel, and we are following our main protagonist Rivina, who is a soldier and she's protecting a trade caravan from bandits. They discover a corpse in one of the wagons, and from there things unfold because the corpse is of a rare species and it was intended for someone special, and once all of these information come out, the world plunges into chaos. Sounds like this is an interesting start to a new series. Next up is John Gwynn's Malice. There's a lot of talk about this series and I wanted to check this out for quite a long time now, and I'm very happy that for my birthday I just decided, okay, I get it. So this is a huge epic fantasy series, and we have the Banished Lands here, and there are humans fighting giants, and we follow young Corbin, who sees all of these warriors growing up, going to war, and we have, I think, the Black Star and the Black Sun, two knights that have to battle in a way, I don't know. So it's a huge thing, and I'm interested whether I like it, because so many people, especially some booktubers that I'm following online, are absolutely fans of this series, and I want to see whether I might be a fan as well. Next up is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I know this is all over the place here, all of the genres together, but I'm sorry, I had just take it how they come. This is set in the 1940s, so it's historical fiction, and we are following Celia and Vivian and how they grow up in this time, what it means to be a woman. You have all of the glamour of the city, you have female friendship and all of the hardships that a woman has to go through. And I guess this will be very heartwarming, and I'm interested to see what we learn from their lives. Next up is Laura Purcell, Bone China. So this is another Gothic historical fiction, and we are following Hester Y, who goes to Morven House in Cornwall as a nurse. And there she shall be the nurse of Mrs. Pinecroft, who is mute. And we learn about the past of Mrs. Pinecroft in this house, where her father has conducted experiments to cure consumption. Looks like things have gone wrong there, and we go from there. I'm really excited. I love Gothic literature, and it seems like I'm getting like some Daphne du Maurier vibes here, and I already read something from Laura Purser before, The Corset, which was very good. Next up we have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. So of course we know that this one has been adapted by Netflix and it will be released in the end of April. And I thought, okay, I want to know what this is all about, although I know that Leigh Bardugo said, and also Netflix said, that it is some kind of a loose adaptation and it will actually include the Shadow and Bone series and Six of Crows, but I wanted to check out the original material anyway. So this here follows Alina. The setup is some kind of a Russian-inspired world where you have in the middle of the country something that's called the Shadowfold, which is a dark magical sphere with monsters in there, and it seems like people cannot cross from the east to the west. We have the Darkling, which is a very important political and magical figure in the country who actually wants to destroy this thing, or at least we know that he's important for this world, and Alina seems to have some magical abilities that could help with the Shadowfold disappearing or whatever they need to do with it. And yeah, we go from there, and I'm really excited. I saw the trailer. I'm anticipating this release on Netflix, and this is why I wanted to check out the material. Next up we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. So this is the second book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I read the first book in January and it was like, okay. But I know there are loads of people who said that this is the best book in the series and I should continue. Okay, I decided I will do this. I guess that this will be much steamier and much more adult than the first book has been. So I'm curious to see whether this is true and whether I will then continue with the next books or not. Okay, and maybe I should give some context actually to the series. So A Court of Thorns and Roses follows Fair, who is hunting a wolf, which is not a wolf, but a fairy. And the fairies punish her, take her to Fairyland, and there she gets to know High Lord Tamlin and his court. She's getting sucked into Fae politics from there on, and I don't want to give any spoilers here. It's what happens when she has to rescue her High Lord and actually fights her hate against the fairies. So, A Court of Mist and Fury is part 2 of the series. Speaking of part 2 of a series, if you have watched my February wrap-up, then you know that Serpent and Dove was my favorite book of February 2021, and I thought, okay, then let's have the next book. And I got it for my birthday, so this is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahorine. And Serpent and Dove was centered around Lou, who is a witch, and Reed, who is a witch hunter. And they have to marry, because the bishop told them they have to marry, since Lou compromised Reed in public, and they want to make sure that she's actually not influencing his reputation in a bad way. So they have to marry. He, of course, doesn't know that she's a witch, and problems unfold from there. I really loved it. I loved the conclusion of everything, and this is a part 2 of it. We will follow Lou, Reed, and a couple of other people who are like some kind of a misfit gang now, who have to run away from the witches. And where to, we will find out in this one. Continuing in the same vein, I have another second book in a series that was just released in February, one day before my birthday actually, and that is Liberté by Gita Trillis. My favorite book in 2020 was the first book in this series, which is Enchanté. And I was waiting for this book, the second book, to be released quite a long time now. And Enchanté is actually about Camille, who uses petty magic tricks to steal food for her younger sister and her gambling brother. When she finds a magical object in the attic of their house, she finds out that she can transform herself into a baroness, and she decides to go to Versailles and gamble and cheat the aristocrats there, bring some money home. And from there, problems unfold because she's not the only one who is not what she seems, actually. I loved all of this. I love the love interest. I love everything that happened. I love the glamour at Versailles, the whole historical background that we have, because the French Revolution will be quite soon, and you can already see the unrest in the population of Paris where this is taking place. So I guess Liberté will be exactly about that. I guess the French Revolution is coming now. We will follow Camille and her maybe boyfriend Lazare, who is a young nobleman. I'm really interested to see how the story continues, and I was looking forward to this so much. Next up is another historical fiction, and that is The Pre-Raphaelite Seamstress by Amita Murray. This was actually suggested by the Amazon algorithm because I was trying to find some posters or art prints of the Pre-Raphaelites that I actually wanted to use here for my room. We follow Rachel, who wants to become a Pre-Raphaelite artist as well, and she's a seamstress and sells her prints and dresses to the wealthy people, I think, of London. And yeah, it seems like there is a man coming to her house one day, and probably there will be some steamy scenes in here. And the next day he's actually arrested for murder, and she wants to prove that he's innocent. And I think Dante Gabriel Rossetti will be included here in the story as well. I have no idea what happens. I'm very excited. I love self-published books when they deal with topics that I haven't read about yet. So let's see what's happening. Next up is an adult fantasy book, which is The Mask of Mirrors by M.L. Carrick. So we follow Ren here, who is a con artist, and she tries to cheat herself into a very wealthy family to secure her future and the future of her sister. You can imagine if magic is involved, there's a lot of trouble coming up here, and the City of Dreams looks like there is things going on in the underworld, and everyone might be quite unsafe. So I'm really excited. As you can see, this is kind of a chunker. There must be a lot happening here, and let's see. Speaking of chunkers and fantasy books, I have another one here, and that is Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. So I have heard a lot about this book as well. It's the same as with Malice by John Gwynne. This is very loved by people. We follow Valen here, who is the newest recruit in the Sixth Order, and he gets the training as a warrior because, of course, as always, war is coming. And it looks like he has to prove himself early on. I've heard that we hear a lot about him growing up here and building friendships as well amongst the warriors and everything. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope it's not just about the war. I hope it's character driven. And I just wanted to have a new fantasy series to enjoy as much as I did the Wheel of Time, because I'm a huge Wheel of Time fan, and I'm still searching for something that makes me invested as much as Robert Jordan did. So maybe Bloodsong will accomplish that. Next up, another historical fiction, and actually connected to what I read in February, because I enjoyed The Intoxicating Mr. Laval by Neil Blackmore a lot, so I wanted to read a bit more by Neil Blackmore, and so I got Split My Heart. This is set in 1945 in Damascus, and we are actually at the end of the Second World War, and the Arab population is actually rising against the French colonial power. We follow Marina and her husband Paul, who come to Damascus, and it seems like Paul is sent by the government, and Marina finds out that Paul has an affair with his Arab researcher Suleiman. So this is again including a queer love story, which the intoxicating Mr. Lavelle did as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how much this discovery influences their lives and the story. I guess this is very character driven as well. Let's see what's happening there. And we continue with queer and fantasy. I bought TJ Klune's Wolf Song, and of course, as you can think, it's not vampires here, it's werewolves or shapeshifters, or I don't know. I think it's a coming of age story because we follow Ox, who has a very complicated connection to his parents, and he's meeting a boy all of the time in the story, like, or as a boy and as a teenager and later as a man. And I guess there will be a love story between them, but how much this has something to do with werewolves, people getting murdered, and the mystery there. It was also a book that Amazon wanted me to buy, because I actually never have read anything by TJ Klune. It was just that when I saw the cover and I read the synopsis, I was absolutely intrigued, and this will be something new as well to me, because I think that werewolves were only part of maybe vampire stories that I read before, except of maybe the werewolf stories that Anne Rice was writing. So I'm really interested in this, and this is quite big as well, but I hope it's very good. So next up is a book that I have been waiting to read, or at least buy, for quite a while now, and this is The Baron the Nightingale by Catherine Auden. We already had with Shadow and Bone a Russian setting, and this will be a real historical fiction novel with fantasy included, because we follow Vasya, who is living in a small village in the Russian countryside, and she can see house spirits. This story is heavily influenced by Russian folk tales, and one of the servants in the house is always talking about the Winter King and what's going on in the dark woods. I guess that Vasya will meet the Winter King, and we go from there. This is a very, very beloved series. I already have the second installment of this series on my bookshelf, and I hope it is good, because I love everything that has something to do with winter, with the darkness, with either the North or Russia as well. And it just sounds like so up my alley. Next up, we are getting there. The end is near. Next up is a historical fiction novel, but you could also say it's historical fantasy or historical fiction with magical realism. It's Megan Campisi, The Sin Eater. I saw this book when I was in Sheffield, and where I saw actually also the intoxicating Mr. Lavelle. And this is, I think, set in the 17th century, and we are following May Owens, who is a sin eater. These are people that actually hear the confessions of people before they die, and they have to live with them. They are of course shunned because probably they know a lot of secrets or things that people actually didn't want to tell anyone else, not even a priest. May, unfortunately, here's one of the more tricky confessions, and I guess it will be some kind of murder mystery here, because she is in danger after having eaten this kind of sin. I'm really, really excited. I love the concept. I guess this will be one of the next books I will be reading in the coming months. And we have made it. This is the end of the book haul, and we end this with a Shakespearean retelling. This is A Million Junes by Emily Henry. As I said, it's a Shakespearean retelling of Romeo and Juliet, because June O'Donnell is only following one rule, that she has to stay away from the Angert family. But of course, she meets Saul Angert and sparks fly. I love retellings. I read a retelling of King Lear last year, The Queens of Innis Lear, by Tessa Gretton, and I loved it, and I hope that this will be a good retelling as well. And yeah, I can't wait for reading this. Actually, this goes for all of my books, and I don't know when I will make them, but we will get there and you will see them in my wrap-ups. And when you think it's over, it's not over yet, because I just realized I of course received some books for my birthday as well, and the lovely Claudia of Knits for the Soul, link down below, sent me book number 2 and 3 of the wonderful Gentleman Bastard series. So we have Red Seas Under Red Skies and The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. And these are book 2 and 3 in the series about Loch Lomora, where the first book is The Lies of Loch Lomora, which I read last year and I loved it so much. The Lies of Loch Lomora is set in a fantastical Italian Venice, so to say, or Florence, and Loch Lomora is a thief. And he loves to stage huge coups and rob the rich population. One of these coups is actually not going right, and at the same time there is something going on in the underworld that they actually belong to, because the gangs have some problems with someone who wants to be the new leader of the underworld. And the fantastical elements are not that big in that series. I have heard it should be getting more and more with these 2 books. This is set, as we can see, some kind of a pirate setting here, because Locke has to leave the city, and I have no idea about the 3rd book, but I love the American editions that I got from my friend, and I really can't wait for at least reading this one quite soon. And yeah, this is indeed the end of my book haul. I hope that you enjoyed it, that you found something interesting for yourself, and see you guys soon. Bye bye.